Thanks for joining us tonight for News 4 at 6. I'm Matt Breen. Jessica Bowman is off tonight. Planting continues for farmers across Siouxland tonight, but a Northwest Iowa distribution center, which supplies those farmers with feed and farm chemicals, says those farmers may have to make some tough choices if they're feeling the pinch of increased tariffs on foreign countries. KTIV's Taylor Deckert has the story from Larchwood, Iowa.
Larchwood, Iowa is home to a distribution center for Farmers Business Network. It stores almost everything the company sells, like farm chemicals, seed, and livestock feed. This facility serves smaller warehouses all over the Midwest, which then distributes the supplies to farmers who are busy planting their crops.
They're applying chemicals pre-emerge to crops as they're planting or shortly after planting.
Tim Bjordahl says FBN started preparing for tariff hikes in January as early as Inauguration Day by ordering early.
We got stuff in pre-tariff, suspecting that tariffs could become a real possibility.
Tariffs have fluctuated over the last few months. It's a concern for farmers using ag chemicals.
60 to 80% of the chemicals that farmers use on their farms are sourced through active ingredients that come from raw materials out of China.
By early April, tariffs increased. That's when Bjordahl says his company saw significant changes.
See that increasing at tariff rates that range from anywhere to from 25, in some cases with China, 190%.
Farm Business Network says that some farmers are turning to alternative products and chemicals due to the rising costs.
Store brands are generally generic and cheaper, but they have the same concentration of the same active ingredient as the brand name. We've seen a lot of people, new people coming to us, moving from those more expensive brand names to a generic alternative.
But the future trade deal on the horizon, there are still unknowns, but with farming, timing is everything.
But there will be supply chain challenges just based on the 4 to 6 weeks of the trade talks and conflict.
In Larchwood, Iowa, Taylor Deckert, KTIV News 4.
For the active ingredients that Farm Business Network sources directly, Bjordahl says those are also widely available with a minimal price increase. That's another alternative to already made products for farmers.